So let's take a look at the first question for grade 7, term 2. Luca uses dots to build T-shapes as shown above. Which T-shape will need 409 dots to build? Well, firstly, I need to figure out how many dots are in each T-shape. So let's look at T1. T1 has 4 dots, T2 has 7 dots, T3 has 10 dots, and T4 has 13 dots. Therefore, how many dots am I adding between each T-shape? I'm adding 3 dots. So what would my rule be for this geometric pattern? Remember, I start my rule with times, and I multiply by the amount that I add between each T-shape, which is 3. But is that the end of my rule? Well, let's test it. Let's test it with T1. So 1 times 3 equals 3. So what else do I have to do? Yes, I need to add 1. Let's test it out on the second T-shape. So that would be 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 1 is 7. Now that I know that my rule works, I can find out which T-shape will need 409 dots. But in order to find my T-shape, or term number, I have to do the inverse. Therefore, 409 minus 1 in brackets divided by 3. 409 minus 1 equals 408, and 408 divided by 3 will give me 136. Therefore, T-shape or T136 will need 409 dots to build. Let's move on to question 2. What is the number indicated by A on the ruler? Well, the numbers that I have are 3.12 and 3.13. To make things easier, I'm going to add a 0 to each of these numbers. Therefore, this helps me to see that the distance between these two numbers has to equal 0.010. And I am going to divide this between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0.010 divided by 5 will be equal to 0.002. Therefore, I'm going to add this to my given number. 3.122, 3.124, 3.126, and 3.128. But I haven't answered my question. What is the number indicated by A? Well, I know that A comes before 3.12. Therefore, I have to subtract 0.002 from 3.120, which would give me 3.118. Therefore, the number indicated by A would be 3.118, or 3,118. Let's look at number 3. There I have a number pattern, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and the question, what is the next number in this number pattern? This pattern is known as the Fibonacci sequence. Each number is the sum of the previous two. For example, 1 plus 1 will give me 2, 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 5, 8. Therefore, the next number would be 5 plus 8, which would give me 13. Let's look at question 4. The sketch shows cubes stacked on a table. Each cube is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. How many cubes are in the stack? Well, in this figure, I can clearly see that there is one column with 3 cubes, 2 columns with 2 cubes each, and 3 columns with 1 cube each. Therefore, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 1 is 3, and if I were to add up those numbers, I would get 10. Therefore, there are 10 cubes in this stack. Let's move on to question 5. Calculate the following. A. 13 plus 80 divided by 20 times 5 minus 15. Now, in order to solve this sum, I have to apply BODMAS, my order of operation. So, according to BODMAS, what do I do first? If you said 80 divided by 20, you are 100% correct. 13 plus 80 divided by 20 would be 4 times 5 minus 15. According to BODMAS, what do I do next? 4 times 5. So 13 plus 20 minus 15. And now I just work from left to right. So 13 plus 20 will give me 33, and 33 minus 15 would give me 18. So my answer to A should be 18. Let's move on to B. 20 divided by, in brackets, 2 plus 2 minus 21 divided by 7. What do I do first? If you said brackets, well done. So 20 divided by 2 plus 2, which is 4, minus 21 divided by 7. My third step would then be 20 divided by 4 and 21 divided by 7. So 20 divided by 4 would give me 5, and 21 divided by 7 is 3. I'm left with 5 minus 3, which would give me an answer of 2. Therefore, the answer to B is 2. Let's move on to question 6. Tom, Fred, and Rhoda put their apples into a bag. Tom and Fred together had 17 more apples than Rhoda. Tom had 7 apples. Rhoda had 5 apples. How many apples did Fred have? So I know that Tom and Fred together had 17 more apples than Rhoda. Therefore, I could say that Tom and Fred, their apples equaled Rhoda's apples plus 17 more. But I do know that Tom had 7 apples. Therefore, I can substitute the T for Tom with his 7 apples. But I still don't know what Fred has, so we'll leave the F there. And that is equal to Rhoda, who had 5 apples, plus the extra 17. So 7 plus F equals 22. What do I have to do to get the F by itself? Yes, I have to take it to the other side. And since this is a positive digit, when it goes to the other side, it becomes a negative. Therefore, Fred equals 22 minus 7, which means that Fred has 15 apples. And this brings us to our bonus question. In 3 years, Jane will be 3 times as old as she was 3 years ago. How old is Jane now? Let's solve the word problem step by step. Let's assume that Jane's current age is X. According to the information provided, in 3 years, Jane will be 3 times as old as she was 3 years ago. We can express this as an equation. Jane's age in 3 years equals 3 times Jane's age 3 years ago. So, in 3 years, Jane's age will be X plus 3, and 3 years ago, Jane's age was X minus 3. We can substitute these values into the equation. Therefore, we'll have X plus 3 equals 3x minus 3. X plus 3 equals 3x minus 9. To solve for x, we'll isolate the x terms on one side of the equation. We'll take the x to the other side and do the same with the 9. 3 plus 9 equals 3x minus x, which gives me 12 equals 2x. I then divide both sides by 2, which leaves me with x equals 6. Therefore, Jane is currently 6 years old. And this brings us to the end of Mathematics Smarts for Grade 7, Term 2.